So my buddy Link talked me into trying a different type of mouse, a trackball. I haven't used a trackball ever. So I figured it would actually make for a fun tutorial because I would be at a low level of familiarity with my mouse, like a RPG, right? You have familiarity with your weapon. I actually have like four of the same mouse because I have maximum familiarity with it. I love it so much. And this mouse is, I think, going to get redacted and is out of date. And I'm afraid. So I'm like, should I buy five more? But in any case, I'm using a trackball mouse and I have no idea how it's going to work out. So we're going to just give it the old test. I was testing it earlier and it was quite terrible. So I figured it would make me perform a little bit slower. So let's get into it. Let's pretend we're just working, right? So, all right, Master Xeon here. Welcome to Hardops. First thing Jesus, this rolling wheel is nuts. So we'll press Q and go under Mesh Tools and locate Sphere Cast. I forget that you can roll the wheel to scroll a menu. That's always kind of crazy to me. So we'll choose Sphere Cast, and this mouse also has like 15 buttons, but I haven't configured them to anything yet. So I don't have any macro buttons on hand. And I haven't yet mastered rotating the viewport yet either with this thing. So this is going to be fun. So the goal is to do like a topological study. So we'll mark this up to sub D level 4. Make sure we're looking at it in front view. I'm not doing the laptop numpad challenge. Actually, I have a numpad on this computer, so I'm going to use my numpad. And looking at this from the front, we're just going to add a plane and press picking back up. So Camtasia has a lot of gall to just take F9. I'm just saying. You can't press F9. It's a special type of hell, you guys. I was sitting there struggling with F9. Actually, in my previous video, I wasn't able to even use F9, and it probably paused my video without me knowing, which is just totally lame. And, I'll need to exit box cutter for this one. And let's see, rotate the view. I got this, you guys. I could do this. So we're just going to move this forward. And I can tell you I'm probably not going to be a trackball guy. However, I think I'll give it a try for a bit just to see. Because Proxy has been using one for the longest. And I'm always like, dude, you should get this mouse with 50 buttons, man. But no one cares. Everyone on the team kind of operates differently when it comes to equipment. For example, AR uses pins and no mouse, and also hates UI. So he cares not for anything we do concerning UI. So there's always a double whenever you have these points here. So I always have to select them and then dissolve them with Control X. However, my hotkeys should be showing better now on this computer. I did a fresh install of key press, so it should be better now. We'll hold shift and click again, and we'll press spacebar. And you might remember this from before. Alright, I keep forgetting how to rotate the view. Alright, I got this, you guys. Rotate back to front. I should use the align tool or map it to a button. When it comes to the align tool, actually, even though it's in edit mode under ST3 tools, under align view, you are able to right click it and assign a shortcut. And so things that I felt that were crucial to you, the users, we just can't add any more hotkeys. It's driving people mad. So I got to think about something that flows users more better, because while we aim for simplicity, sometimes I feel that our quest for simplicity adds too much complexity. So we look at the front, it's good. We look at the back, it's not good. And I'm going to double click this loop. I'm going to double click this loop. I'm going to alt click it. Yeah, alt click will do. And we're looking at this back in front view. And I'm going to get this. Watch, by the end of this, I'm going to be a mouse master. It's just so strange, because I'm letting go of what I zoom with to rotate the view because it made the most sense. So I love this part of the process. We're studying it intensely internally, or at least I am, because I specifically want this workflow solved. Sometimes I can get hyper focused on an issue, aiming only to solve a singular thing, and this is my singular thing. All right, we'll extrude that out, and then we rotate the view around, and wow. It'll be crazy when I bring in a little box cutter, but all right. This is one of my favorite parts where we scroll to find bisect mod, and then we shift click the X, then we shift click the Z, therefore minimizing our work to only to only one quadrant from 4. And then we get to play this logic game. And each time I feel that, Jesus, let me pen the view. All right, I got this. Got this. I don't got this, you guys. Wait, I got this. Got it. All right, I think I got it. All right. Wow. Oh man, if I went to hell, there would definitely be a trackball waiting for me. I should maybe pause this video and go repent, be born again, which I feel many people would probably want to do when, Jesus, come on, Tracky. Just try to click that button. All right. So we're just going to grab this single edge, this edge, and GG. And every time I play this game, I'm just really thinking about which edge would hurt the shape more and which one's the fake. And sometimes it can be confusing, right? Because some shapes will be, some of these edges will be connected and look like they're important, but their doppelganger is the one that's actually well connected, and you can't trust him. Look at me talking about edges like they're people, but I think about it all the time. I'm like, that sneaky little edge, like this edge right here, well connected, 5 generations. Look at this one. This is just a rat's nest of just untrustworthy geometry. So if we can select that last point, we can press M, which using a trackball I could definitely appreciate. It's one less key I have to press while struggling with this ball. And we'll select 1, 2, 3, M, last. Don't be requesting trackball tutorials out of me. I feel like I'm like at a tenth of my speed, like I'm wearing Rock Lee, like I'm wearing Rock Lee weights right now. That gesture to move though is crazy right now. I need to map that to a button. I bet shift middle mouse button mapped on some buttons on this thing. I might come back, There's no mouse I cannot not use. Also, it's kind of nice not having, that right there was a mistake. So you see me slide it. I sacrificed so little of the shape, but it's enough. It's enough of a sacrifice. It wasn't worth making. So, it's really an edge game here. Like I really ponder a lot about, and by ponder I mean I write down on paper and draw plans, but I really ponder a lot this modal that allows people to scroll through possibilities of what geometry could be, So when I'm looking at this, I'm like, what possibilities could be here? And how far could the possibilities that we're hypothetically scrolling through need to be seen? Could we see them inside of a circle? Could we see them over the course of a mesh? Could we see them? And when you explain stuff like that to people, like, hey, I want this, they're like, what? So I always try to think about the steps, how to get at least a fraction, a fun fraction, and then go from there, I mean, there's really not a lot to say about this geo. we're just working. So this part is always fun. So this part I always think about a lot. What if we could fix what we're about to do before we do it? Because I already know we're about to. Jesus, I forget I'm using a trackball when I'm discussing hypothetical concepts. This is where this is where the other knife tool would come in handy, our selection tool. And then we just press K and jump to knife because, knife will select a point and then just jump there. Then we could just press C and we could just hit this thing and just hit that and then press C. And kind of what we're working on isn't so much the geometry, but this future path is going to be drawn by the bevel. I'm always thinking about the bevel itself and its solutions that it's providing. And I love seeing the percentage. It just lets me know that it's a 0. It's a straight 0. And even better than this would be to use the join tool. But join, I feel, needs a little more visual flair to it. But I see big things for these things. In fact, as I'm using a trackball, it really takes the edge off my balls, Sorry. I don't want to get me tooed out there. Let's continue. So we're going to grab this one and bring it here, grab this one and bring it here, and we're just dozy-dosing with geometry. I mean, it's really rough right now, but in a moment you'll see, because I was about to get what I call a dirty bevel, and then we would have been talking about cleaning up the bevel, but instead, we can struggle with this mouse together, ponder this mouse, which I always tell people, I'm like, the moment you stop complaining about something, it starts getting better. That's how I feel about this mouse. I'm just getting better. So I can press spacebar to keep these changes, because clicking or right clicking will give you the most regrettable outcome. I am so against right mouse clicking, canceling things now. I don't know. It's just weird to me, but I understand it as a concept, and I see that everyone that works with us keeps doing it. Let's rotate that view around. That's where the pane comes back. We're just going to select this for J. Vanilla Blender is the best. You'll never be able to tell me that we'll be able to ever do something better than vanilla Blender. It's just so good to me. It's my fallback. Anytime I can't do anything, I hit it with what I call the book. And the book is basically everything I read in Blender books. And there's a lot of Blender books. There's like 130 Blender books. When I was crazier about Blender, I read them all. My favorite was Foundations Compositing. It's such a classic. There's just so much imagination, I feel, in those pages. But it's such an old book. Like, you probably look at it, it's probably talking about 2.49 or something. So, I don't know. You had to have been there. All right, we're doing just a 5-way slide. Almost want to dial the sensitivity down. What's crazy about this mouse is, since I got 2 mice hooked up, first thing this mouse said was, if you have another mouse, unhook it, which I found to be rude. You don't just tell me to unhook my mice. But their software also sets the sensitivity of my other mouse, so not to not to be that guy, but it is a Chinese mouse after all. They probably just piggybacked off the Windows settings, called it a day. It's hard. We'll grab this vert and GG slide, and that's not a slide. Gotta always make sure you're sliding is the rule with this game, and make sure you're using a good mouse is the other rule. I mean, I've been standing up this whole time because I don't know, and we're just gonna grab this loop, and maybe because we cleaned up the geometry so much, it will just grab it all, and it did. That's how good of a clean we did. Just a casual chat clean, you know. Like I said, even with geometry, sometimes you stop complaining. I'm trying to roll the wheel to add a segment. I feel silly. All right, so P, we'll bring that in, and we will just unmark, which is just mark again. Also got to add that when it comes to select tool, if you look at the tooltip for mark, it's also under here under shift. So if we go in shift, click it, we're basically in the select tool. So just in case you ever need that, I could probably be using the slide tool, but my brain is hardwired to vanilla, which is why I'm like, hey, we gotta really make this feel like vanilla, or else it's gonna taste like strawberry sherbet, but ice cream, no. And that's not desirable for ice cream. It's only desirable for sherbet. So let's take this one, and we're just going to do what I call the old geometric do-si-do. And that's where we create some geo just for the sake of giving this a slide jump off point. I mean, and we look at this and it's like, we got bigger problems in here. Who did it? Where did you go wrong? We'll just start sliding people together, shutting down the town. You know, who else having problems? You know, this whole area needs to be shut down. This area, oh, you know it's going to be shut down. And we'll J lightning bolt in order to, you know, really seal that portal to the nether realm. And we're just going to keep looking at this. And this thing really makes my hand tired, I'll tell you what. Like, I grab the other mouse, just destroy. Like, I should just switch over, show you guys what it's like. But y'all know, it's every video that y'all ever seen. And I'm not even trying. Like, I swear I'm not. So I'm going to press I and then B to bring this in. And we'll extrude. And that is our shape, right? Our test shape that I was going for. So if I wanted to, I could end the video here. But let's continue. So if I Alt H, we see that I actually have the original shape. So I'm just going to Shift D duplicate, right click, H hide, and we'll bring back the original. And we're just going to look for the bend of where this bends, and Shift S, origin to selection. And you know, I'm going to do something weird. And I'm just thinking on my feet here. I'm just going to create a face, and we're just going to go to flatten a line. And by control clicking it, we're in the align tool, right? So I'm just going to roll the wheel and hope that it aligns to the right face, and it doesn't. So a fool has been made of me. So I could accept that. It happens. But not today. Not today. And watch, when I get through with this, it's going to be like, why did I even go through all of this? But I just want to find out. Also, I keep forgetting I'm using this mouse. But when I need to find select, I sure can fill it. Alright. Extrude. Oh, I'm holding Alt to rotate the view like I'm in Maya. Not that I'm using Maya or anything. Don't crucify me. So we'll Alt, Control click and roll the wheel. And it's about to pay off. Bam. This is all I wanted. Look at it from this view so that I could first of all delete the face that got me here. Then press Alt X, press V. And we actually want to mod and apply and be done. No empty. And if we bring up the help, it'll even tell us that. I put in a lot of work into this help, so I hope that you guys are enjoying the help on the mirror. I'm hoping to figure out a way to make the help both informative but also kind of rapid, less wordy. I see that some of our help has gotten a little wordy, so I aim to fix that someday. And we'll bring this here. And we actually do not need our interior faces on this anymore either, so we will just hit it with a clean mesh. And we don't need it to be wire anymore either, so we'll just shade it as solid. Come on, mouse. And we'll just rotate the view, hit it with the SX. And if you're wondering what the wire looks like by this point, it's just a cylinder. We just did all that stuff just to get a cylinder from the exact bowl shape that made this. I don't know. Sometimes I'm all... So I didn't save it all. So let's see how lucky we are. Bam. Thank you, Blender. Blender doesn't mess around with their autosave setting. Let me just tell you. I always rely on Blender's autosave. And I do want to make a public service announcement. If you're using PowerSave, you definitely want to turn off use autosave. That thing is the devil. It's just the devil. I keep trying to express how it's the devil, but it's being misunderstood. I can only say that Blender's autosave is good enough, and that just proves it. So we're going to power save this though, because I do need to actually save the file. We'll call this mtest, and we'll power save. This moment brought to you by PowerSave, but Blender's autosave is definitely sufficient. Sometimes you don't need to expand on the best, especially when it does the job. So anyways, continuing on, we're going to shade this as solid and look at this in front view and scale this in again. And that crash wasn't even using a hardops tool, by the way. I was just using Blender's bevel, I think. No, wait, I was using our bevel, so who knows. Could be something going on with 2.9, but got to roll with the punches on this stuff. And we want to roll it down to one segment. Press 1 to set our auto smooth. And we can select both of these, Alt-X. And we want to just mirror this across and mirror it on the Z. One of the last remaining bugs of mirror to me is the fact that when you have multi-object selection, it actually shows the wrong handles being dimmed out for it, because it's actually showing the status of the first object. It should be showing it for the second object, but just know that I'm always contemplating it. I mean, these bugs, the bugs that I'm reporting are nothing compared to what you guys are. Anyways, continue on. We're going to select this piece, and looking at this in edit mode, I'm going to use curve extract, which can be brought about using, it looks like shift. So we will shift click it, and by shift clicking we're able to bring this out and just quickly make a plate in this area. And the reason is it's nice to shift A, add a plane. God, this mouse is killing me. I should at least sit down in a chair. Can't blame the mouse. Blame this mouse for all my problems, guys. Like losing my hair, mouse's problem. Girlfriend hates me, mouse's problem. So many things this mouse has done to my life. Only had it for a day, by the way. So we will solidify this, and the mouse did pretty good for that. And I can already tell you that this moment I'm about to enjoy. So it's enjoyable every time. We're going to go into Array V2, press X to change the axis, press V to go into 3D mode. Ooh, that does feel nice. And then we'll roll the wheel to just set our segments in between. 3D mode is starting to win. I cannot wait for it to propagate. So we'll just click to apply that. But I'm going to just let you know already, we're going to need to press Control tilde and go in our helper. And we're going to need to lock down the sort on both array and solidify. And that is so whatever default settings we have, we're not affected by the Boolean that we're about to do. So we select this shape, we select the main shape, and if we press Q, we can do a slash. And we could have actually turned off Boolean B step and use bypass sort, which would have also done the job. But we'll just do a slash, and we're just left with this. However, that's kind of lazy. We could press Q and just do an intersection and just call it a day. And I don't know why I never think like that, but for some reason I just keep defaulting to classic slice. So with that, we at least are off to a pretty decent start with this thing. I just wanted to do just a quick demo with this mouse just to see what it would be like to work in a very handicapped situation. And with that, I'll wrap it. Actually, in lieu of my last video, we should at least press Alt-M, Control-click Add Material, and then we can, with nothing selected, we could just press Q and just add camera. And, with camera lately, I've just been super lazy. I've just been grabbing the empty and just moving it. And I've just been really moving the empty. Like, look, this thing should rotate all sorts of silly, but it doesn't because of more than likely a bug. But that's fine. I actually like this bug, but that's how I look at it. I'm like, that's more than likely a bug. I'm pretty sure that's a bug, but also that does give the camera a wide degree of versatility. I mean, if we were to try to end this on a good result, I would also go in here, press Alt-V, hit it with the look dev first, right? We go through look dev until we have a nice environment. I actually have a video called Simple Look Dev that talks about my look dev setup more in depth and how I used Affinity Photo to cram all my HDRs into look dev images, because you definitely don't want to put HDRs in there. But we'll just click on to render. And if we press Alt-VB, we can go in and actually start scrolling through lights. And so just like that, we've already got off to a great start with this. And I could actually press Alt-V, go back in here, press C, turn off everything, and we just actually focus on just the lights themselves. So we'll just get lights, roll the ball, like a kitty cat. Just look at what possible light setups we could get here. And then finally just go for something that's stoic and quiet, and dignified. But maybe also hit this model with a degree of subdivision, maybe 2 levels, because we did bother with our topology on this for getting this area in line. So in those times I would use subdivision. However, when it comes to the point of slicing things off and cutting this into a very unique shape, that's where either sub-D will need to be applied or it will need to be mitigated to particular parts. But with that, I will just hit Control Space to start my timeline way too fast. So we'll just go under frame range, and just clicking frame range will just set your frame to be 6,000 frames now, just in case you don't bother pressing F9 and setting that up. But with that, we can wrap up this video. I thank you guys for watching. And when we pause the viewport, that actually looks better. However, it does look kind of strange to see that in motion, just kind of looking a little alias. Let's look at the other side. And we have the other side, and it's actually looking pretty good. We could also maybe use a little bit of shrink wrap just to ensure that we're perfectly conforming to the shape of a sphere. But with that, we'll wrap up this mouse demonstration, and I'll see you guys next time. So first things first, we need to get rid of the subdivision. It already exposes gaps in our model. I mean, we could go in and sharpen it, but just there's no need for us to use subdivision to hide our problems because it's only going to exacerbate them. Also, I'm on a mouse now, so it's game over, guys. Game over. So let's take a look at what we have here. With this piece, we might as well down. I do see that I move way fast. Sorry, you guys. I should do something about my mouse. I got it too good here. Got it way too good. So I'm just adjusting the auto smooth, just adding a bevel in here. Nothing dramatic, just to start dealing with this. However, we actually don't need a bevel yet. We should have some fun with this, and also maybe adjust the auto smooth to something a little bit lower by shift clicking sharpen. So we're just gonna start working this thing, and then we'll talk about bevel later. Also, we can go ahead and apply this modifier. We'll just Control A, visual geometry to mesh, and that's out the way. And I do want to use a modifier. However, the first thing I want to do is shift click smart apply, which in this case does nothing more than just give me a duplicate and select it without all the moving it around and right clicking that I'm so used to doing in the past. So I have had a bit of time to contemplate smart apply duplicate over time in the direction that I want that one to go in. So I do look forward to some of the future enhancements that we'll be showing in the next versions of hardops. I mean, there's always a next for us. I feel like the systems that we have are things that can always be refined and be made into something a little bit better. So one of my favorite things is to do a shift bowl and then turn around, duplicate, and then delete it. And you can see that the shading really breaks down on the edges with the little ticks. And so I thought this would be cool to talk about as well. So we're just going to get in here. I'll try to pull my mic a little slower. I guess that's as close as my mic will get. So hopefully y'all can hear me. But by going in here with a weld and just rolling it up just slightly, I don't know if you saw that, but the shading just instantly got better. Sometimes the geo it needs is just right next to it. So we'll go in and Alt-V and turn off wireframe just to show it in action. So, even though booleans can give you problems, there are ways to mitigate it. And so in my personal work, I am pretty adamant about the whole cutting corners philosophy of, it's not about not cutting corners. It's about, cutting the right corners. You cut the wrong corners and, you end up coming up with a very terrible result. But if you work around where you would normally be cutting your corners and, cut corners finally at the stages that, care less about, then it's easier on yourself. But really the point is to not be cutting any corners. But our goal is definitely to help you have a very fine result at almost every step of the process. So I always refer to our style of modeling as concept modeling, modeling with booleans. However, sometimes I go back to quads just to attempt to make some of these shapes, just using quads and wedges and the 3D cursor and whatnot. And I do see that there is definitely a appeal to being able to fluidly work through this type of process without having to give it all that thinking. So I'm just going to keep chunking pieces out of this and just shift bowling it back into reality and just going in local mode and really looking at what I'm getting with these edges, because the solution is so close, but these meshes just aren't even trying. So we'll just control click to add another weld, and you can see it jump right there. Problem solved, mission accomplished. And we can even do the same thing with our main shape, just take it in local mode and just give it a good look over. And I could just tell you that there's always going to be these little near misses that you can guide home, and you can see them all shift occasionally. So while we're building this mesh up and also you can see right here that I was punished for one of my moves. I chose to roll the weld just a little too high and they made me pay. And I knew it at the time that I was doing it because I had solved the problem, but I was like, I'm just going to roll it a little bit more, and now I've paid the ultimate price. So now we have to roll it one segment back, and we still have our solve with the shading, at least to an adequate degree, but we don't have our corners getting eaten away, which is one of the main things that I'm always concerned with the weld. I mean, at the time that it was made, my first thought was, oh my God, I hope they add the ability for us to add like priorities and stuff to it so we don't end up annihilating things that matter. I'm also going to take this opportunity to use a modifier mirror, and we'll take both of these and mirror them below as well. So we're already kind of making some leeway with just this thing that we're messing around with. And I'm actually sad to find also for some reason don't have Cable Raider installed, or else I'd be demonstrating that as well, but I guess I'll take a pause, get it installed, and then show it off a little bit later. Also, You know, I keep telling everyone KidOps 2 is coming. It should be something worth looking forward to. It's finally going to be taking some steps towards adding features that are essential. So here we are. And what I want to do is, actually, this is our main shape. So I was about to make a terrible mistake. And here we are, making less of a mistake. 3 eye faces, and I know that we have secret faces in here that we kept as well, and we just want to get rid of that. So this is what our shape is looking like so far, and I like to have fun sometimes by just beveling an area to just kind of create a space where there is none. We'll bisect actually, let's look at that again. We don't want to bisect mod. We want to modify or apply, which is pretty much the same as symmetrize, except it also deals with normals and things like that by basically using a mirror modifier instead of a symmetry to basically perform the operation, and it just happens to support edit mode. So with these two, we'll just bevel one, and I guess that will do. So we could just take this and do the old classic of just solidify, and I'll save you guys the rigmarole, and we'll just go in and put a slash on it and a new weld, one roll, and we're done. And with this thing, do the same thing, weld, one roll, we're done. And sometimes it is just that easy, but just know that, you know, there's always a degree of finesse when it comes to getting these models to be exactly the way that you would want them to be. And I don't know, I worry sometimes I make it look too easy in videos, but that definitely isn't my intention. So with this one, we probably want to modify or mirror it. This one we also want to modify or mirror it just to get it to be congruent with the other side. If we just look at this thing in a render, we're already getting a little more interest happening here. However, with this frontal piece, I just want to really get down on it and turn it into a study. So for me, that involves visual geometry to mesh, and then I'm going to use a bisect mod to split the bottom and make it fake. So we can just deal with this top, and I'm going to hit it with a sharpen first, which will give me my seam lines, except in the helper, I didn't actually mark the seams and the crease and the settings here. So in the control tilde helper, we can turn that on, and then we can actually sharpen this, and we're back in business. So we select this shape, press I, E to extrude. You know, extrude is kind of weird right now. I don't know what it is, but just something with extrude right now, just different. I don't know. It just takes some getting used to. It's like M. Like, what did y'all do to extrude? So with this now, I'll select this, then grow it, and then Shift H, maybe Shift H, grow it one more. And how do we want to solve this? Just like that. Just with a J lightning bolt, and we come back, and all I'm doing is just trying to just really force this idea of a camera assembly to exist in this model. And I could already tell you that I'm probably causing geometric pain here. So I got to actually think about how we're going to solve that. So we'll just slide this vert we subdivided right here. And I'm actually going to just delete this face altogether. And we'll also need to subdivide and add a vert here. We'll press M, merge this to last. So we're just kind of just stitching a piece in here real quick. You know, I really care about these manifold meshes. So even if I get it to visually look okay, if I know in my head that it's going to cause an issue with the bevel modifier later, then it's probably in my best interest to deal with that, most expeditiously, as TI would say. So continuing on, we'll just add a level of subdivision to this because this mesh is tough. It can take it, but these edges won't take it. So here we are with one level of subdivision. I know what you're thinking. Why am I doing this? We'll apply this level of sub D, which applying through this is always kind of strange to me in 2.90. And we have something like this going on. And so, I always use this type of sub D and apply method to just up-res an area for Boolean purposes. So subdivision, isn't completely negated out of the Boolean war. I still consider it a crucial element. So now we can get in here, put a sub D on it, and we'll just roll the wheel until we get that edge that we're missing. It's the easiest way. And if we Alt V and turn off the wireframe, this is our piece, just the level 1 piece that we're making here. And I'm just messing around. I haven't even cut a circle in it and started turning it into a camera yet, which is the actual idea for it. But I just kind of want to show a little bit of the process of what it is to take a basic piece and level it up. So let's do the same thing with this piece, right? I'm going to apply everything, and then I'm going to bisect mirror, which means the bottom piece is going to be removed. This will be kept. Normally it would also deal with the junction in a way, but there's nothing at the junction. So in a way it saves me the work of applying the mirror, deleting this, and then using a modifier mirror, which is kind of shorthand of what I'm doing here. So we're just doing the same thing. And with this thing, we could look at it like, hey, I want to level it up via sub D, or we can just work it old school. So I opt for the latter. And old school to me is just, getting in, creating edges, and just working areas. In fact, for this one, we could probably do well with a buffer in this area. And just, send that down via vertical push. I always like to, study ways that these shapes can be done both manually to understand how it could kind of be automated in a way. At the very beginning of hops, I always said, the goal was to automate myself. But, what I didn't count on was me changing as I went through that process. As we automate more and more, it's like, that opens the door for this now. This is actually trivial. So we'll just roll the wheel. Actually, that's a lot of segments. We want to roll 3, keep it small. And let's hit it with a sharpen. And we've already hit it with a sub D, yet we're already beginning its transition into the next level of part that it's going to be. And, while that can be scary for a shape growing up, you just got to have faith. Also, at this point, because there's a bisect workflow happening at the moment I mirrored it again on the X against itself, because the mesh is touching, now it's a bisect situation where there's an open hole right here. But that's fine. We're just going to do one more work on this mesh. Old habits die hard. I just can't stop using classic knife. Every time I use it, I'm just studying it, just analyzing the greatness that made the original knife possible. And we'll just knife here as well, because I didn't use seat cut through. And we could use EM macro, just shift click it, and that will just allow us to force an edge down. But we're not actually trying to go that route yet. Instead, we're trying to just simply push it. So we'll just grab this area, Alt S, bring it down, and we see that sub D is just a little bit of a a ninny, you know, when it comes to doing this type of work, which is why I just am against seeing it in edit mode. If I don't have to see it in edit mode, it's just a good day for me. But I think that's one of the biggest beginner mistakes, you know, is modeling with sub D active, because, you know, it lies to you. It shows you things that just aren't there yet. So I don't know. It's by design. I'm not saying that it's a faulty thing or anything. Just keep that in mind whenever you're using it. What you're seeing isn't always entirely what you're getting, and especially, well, I mean, what you're seeing is definitely what you're getting. But if you're modeling it, you know, what you're modeling and seeing definitely may not be what you're getting. All right. So for this one, I'm going to actually slide it here. I actually slid it too close to the sign. We'll slide it here, and then we'll just slide it back. And we just won't talk about that. Just kidding. Just sliding them to and fro normalized it. So we will just go ahead and apply everything again. And bisect mod, split it on the Z at the bottom. And then we're looking at this again. And this is our new level 2 of the smash. So the same way I was splitting things away the first time with this, I'm going to be able to go in and actually do a second pass on this, leveling up and going more and more in depth. And that's kind of my process for getting through these things. So that's me with the normal mouse, talking too fast, working too fast. For that, I apologize. You know, I hope that this video was helpful. I wasn't trying to come across you know, improperly or anything, but I do want to do more kind of talking about tips and how you would get the most out of your hardops Blender experience, because even things like this are things that I care about and someday hope to automate the process of resolving. Like, I'm pondering in my tool, you know, pondering in my head for the tool this idea of something called troubleshoot that would basically be a one-stop shop for helping people analyze issues and solve why either your mesh would have holes or your boolean doesn't work or something like that. But I feel that no one's taking any steps in that regard towards, look, here's what it looks like after 20 seconds with Geico, and this is what it's like with Allstate. Oh, just kidding. But I will hit that with a mod apply in order to keep the manifold nature of it. But with that, we'll wrap up this video, and I'll see you guys. In fact, let's look at the render real quick. And, you know, once you start leveling these parts, it's just a whole nother story. Just saying. And then once you section this off, I could just keep going. I could just keep going, and then this would be a super long video. So we'll actually avoid that. So with this, I will wrap up this video, and I'll see you guys next time.